So one of the things that I do when I go down to the grocery store is I really think about my portfolio. I think about things that are going to be this simple kind of composition of just boiling it down to something that draws the eye in. I want to lead it through the entire composition and back to the point that is in most focus and to me is the most important. So what I did, I went down to my local grocer and I took a look at some of the things that I wanted to photograph for this tutorial that would not require me to have a food stylist. Right now, bok choy is gorgeous, baby bok choy in particular. Its shape is completely wild. It's almost foreign in the way it looks. And it's really unusual. So how am I going to work this so that I can bring the viewer's eye through the entire composition and back? That's something that I'd like you to start thinking about as you go down there. Pick up the food, look at it, kind of play with it, look at it from different angles. It will really help you pre-visualize so that when you get on set, you've got a great starting point. Now, some of the things that I know I want to photograph. I want to photograph some Brussels sprouts just because they're cool, I love them, and I know that they're going to really contrast in this black cast iron pan that I want to photograph them in. I also thought, you know what, figs are in season right now, and figs are something that I absolutely love. If you look around, you can find some great fig recipes, and what I want to teach you is that you can work that same food item into a couple of very different dishes. So we're going to start by doing a fig breakfast sandwich. This is going to be fig and cheese on a really great crusty farm bread, which is also something that you can find in bakeries these days that are just outstanding. They're doing a great job with baked goods where you don't have to have a food stylist come in to do this. You can find some really remarkable, I mean, look at this. This is right off of the store shelf. So we're going to do a couple different fig shots. We're going to start with our breakfast sandwich, but then we're also going to do it in a different way that feels a little bit more upscale, like it could be something that is an appetizer for dinner, and the mood might be a little bit dimmer, the lighting might be a little bit dimmer and darker and a little bit more romantic. But we're going to take a look at the way you can capitalize on a single food item, shoot it 2 or 3 different ways and put it in your portfolio. Now, you don't necessarily want to come out with a portfolio that's got 3 fig images and 8 pepper images and 4 Brussels sprout images, because then you really don't show depth. But what's nice about planning it in this way, you can shoot 2 or 3 fig images, get one in your portfolio immediately, and then in 6 months you can add another one. So you can be continually refreshing your portfolio and showing people your skills and kind of getting that depth in your book, but not releasing everything at once. So that's something to really keep in mind too. Kind of plan this out. Think about how you want to present your portfolio going forth. When you go down the aisles of a grocery store, you can spend an enormous amount of money. So really chunk off only what you can handle in a day or 2. Ingredients, particularly if they're fresh, are going to die pretty quickly. So you don't want to go and spend $300 on fresh produce and only have time to shoot for 1 day and waste a bunch of it. Another thing that I continue to keep in mind as I go grocery shopping is the environment that I'm going to place the food in. I think a lot about its form and its shape as I'm looking at it, but I'm also kind of pre-visualizing where I want it to go. Because composition is incredibly important, but you want to create a sense of environment. In doing so, you're going to evoke emotion, and that is the key to selling absolutely anything photographically. It's drawing emotion out of the viewer. So I take the time to go through my props and my surfaces, and I think about, okay, if I'm going to do a fig shot that is a breakfast sandwich, what do I want to convey? I want to convey something that's light and airy and gives you that, I want to wake up in the morning, I want to absolutely make this fig and cheese sandwich, and then I'm going to head out and start my day. So I take a look at different things that I have in the studio to help create that environment. And I actually envision that first by laying it out. I go ahead and I think, all right, I grab a couple figs, I put them on a plate, and I kind of start to play around with the idea of the environment that I want to create. So here I got this great old linen. It's got this nice little orange kind of stitching going through it. It's going to give me a little bit of texture. It's going to give me a little bit of sense of time too, because it's definitely not something that you would find on the shelf today. So it's going to give me kind of a sense of place. Again, that's going to speak to emotion, which is going to help sell this in the end. So I picked out a few things that I really liked. I've got this glass plate and this really unusual fork, knife, and spoon set, which is porcelain, which I've never seen anywhere else. So I'm going to capitalize on this because it's going to give me this kind of monochromatic feeling with the background. It's going to tie in well with the orange, and it's going to play well with the glass. So I really kind of thought about this. I'm going to have this glass coffee mug, this glass plate, the fig sandwich that's going to really kind of jump off, and I've got this nice linen that I'm going to help light so that when I really bring a lot of warm light into it, it's going to feel like that morning kind of fresh, let's start the day off right type of feel. That's what I want to go for. wood surfaces. Look around. Find old gates, find barnwood. You're going to want to drive through old crazy towns and look for stuff and start collecting it. You can pick stuff up like this at garage sales or estate sales, or even kind of dumped on the side of the road. So I took a look at something simple in terms of a dark background, maybe a glass bottle that I can get some light to kind of come pushing through to create a reflection on the surface. And then again, I'm repeating glass in terms of my plate, but I'm looking at something that's very different from the other set. It's got a lot of texture to it. I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with this yet. I like it. When I was kind of playing around with it, I thought, yeah, this is a good direction to go in because I can kind of see the surface through the glass. It's a little bit hidden by all the texture, but it's still there. It's got that feel for me. And I know that light is going to play really well with it. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with it, but this is my foundation. This is where I'm going to start. And very quickly on set, I'm going to know if I'm liking this direction or if I'm hating this direction and if I need to shift gears. So I also took a look at milk and cookies, because who in their right mind doesn't like milk and cookies? There's some great fresh baked stuff out there. We didn't have to have somebody come in and bake this. We didn't have to work with anybody. I took a look at my surfaces and a couple different props. I thought, oh, you know what? This nice little old baking rack, that's perfect. That gives you a sense of place. That gives you a sense of time. Once again, it's nice to help create a sense of time in order to create that environment. It's going to convey to the viewer that that food belongs there and that they in turn belong in that scene. It's all boiling down to simple little tricks and creating visual cues that build environment, that create emotion, and through the composition lead the eye of the viewer all the way through and back to your main focal point. Then the last thing is I wanted to play with a shot of Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts I think are really kind of interesting, and the way I'm going to play with them here is to caramelize them on one side, so they're going to be kind of not black, but they're going to be burnt a little bit, and they're going to have that good caramelization, which is going to play really well with this cast iron pan and this old French baking pan. It's going to be kind of monochromatic, but the colors are really going to pop. Again, because we've got this cast iron pan, it kind of suggests a time frame, and it suggests place. It's coming right out of the kitchen, it's nice and fresh, and evokes that emotion in the viewer that we're looking for. Well, we've had a chance to talk about food, its shape, its color, what we want to look for as we go down to the grocery store. And we've also talked about pre-visualizing, going through your prop room, going through surfaces, taking a look at things that you want to use in order to create a sense of environment, to give emotion and give a sense of place to the dishes that you're going to prepare. So now let's go ahead and let's put that into practice. We've got a very rainy day here. We're going to push right up against the windows and we're going to play with the natural light. But we're also going to contrast that with using our own strobe light to recreate the natural light feel.